Hello, I'm Somi Arian. I'm the founder of FemPeak, a women-led inclusive platform where visionary individuals come to gain live access to global leaders, learn about cutting-edge topics in macroeconomics and Web3, and stay ahead of the curve in the fast-paced world of business and technology. Today's interview is with Camila Russo, one of the most prolific voices in cryptocurrency. Camila started her career as a journalist at Bloomberg, and she's now leading The Defiant, a media company focused on decentralized finance. I'm a huge fan of Camila. She has such a calm voice and so much knowledge and wisdom. I really loved this conversation, and I hope you do too. So I just purchased your NFT, and why don't we start by telling me a little bit about the story of that? What is that about? Why did you release it, and when do you expect that the whole collection will be sold and finished, so that I can decide whether we need to get this podcast out ASAP to get more people to to participate and help buy it.
So this NFT collection is related to the book I wrote on the history of Ethereum, The Infinite Machine. I published that book with HarperCollins in July of 2020. And The Infinite Machine is the story of how Ethereum was founded. And the idea was to write something that read like a fiction novel. So just like a fun narrative, interesting narrative to follow. And something that was still 100% accurate and true to the facts, but that didn't read like a technical manual or didn't read like a history book. So that was kind of my goal with the book, something that was very approachable, that for anyone who had never heard about crypto before, who could just like pick up the book and understand what blockchain is, what Bitcoin is, what Ethereum is, and kind of the promise and the potential for these technologies to become a layer for new, more open, more decentralized internet. So that's kind of the idea. And then the book has done really well. It was just like very well received by the Ethereum community. Like I've been getting so many kind of nice feedback, good kind of reviews, and everyone is sharing it, and it's been amazing to see. I'm really proud and happy about just how it was received. Last year, I was approached by a couple of production studios who were interested in buying the rights of the book to make a movie, and so that's super exciting. Of course, I think, I don't know, it's kind of my dream to see this book in the screen. So one production company was based in LA, and then the other one was based in Spain. The Spain-based one really seemed to be committed to making this movie happen. They were very interested in crypto, kind of got it, and wanted to make me an executive producer. Which means that I would have a say in how this book is shown on screen. So I went with them. They are Versus Entertainment. They have produced and distributed dozens of films. They've been in the industry for many years. The most known, I think, is Buried with Ryan Reynolds, and they've done a couple of other movies with like big Hollywood names. Like they did one with Robert De Niro, they did one with Sigourney Weaver. So that was important to me because I want this to be like big, like as big as we can make it, like a Hollywood blockbuster. I want this to be the social network of crypto. So like the mainstream movie about crypto. So that's kind of our goal with the Infinite Machine movie. So it's not a documentary, it's like a dramatized feature film with actors and so on. And so because I'm an executive producer, I was involved in all the conversations with, about funding and so on. I proposed to look at NFTs for funding because this is a movie about Ethereum. So to me, it just made sense to fund it together with the Ethereum community and with Ethereum technology, like with tokens. So everyone was on board, and we started kind of brainstorming how to kind of structure this NFT project. And And so the initial idea was, okay, let's try to fund as much of the movie as possible with NFTs. NFTs should be a way for holders to have participation in the movie. So I think of them as like a backstage pass. Mm-hmm. So NFTs have like different rewards. Like some of them will give the holder the right to be an extra in the movie. Others will give you the right to appear in the credits, to go to the premiere, to go to the shooting, and so on. Those rewards haven't been revealed yet, but that was like always the initial plan. Like NFT holders should use these NFTs. I mean, not just for like the art, which we always wanted it to be beautiful and so on, but to have like some utility and some access to the movie itself. And then it came the time to decide, okay, like who does the art? And, at first we were thinking, okay, should we bring in like a big blue chip name to design this stuff, the art for the NFTs? And then I thought we should really go to the kind of core of their project, which is the early days of Ethereum. And so I reached out to one of the people who was involved in the Ethereum logo, because I thought it'd be kind of cool to have the person who designed the Ethereum logo design the art for these NFTs. And Yanni was like a very early Ethereum community member, and he was involved in the Ethereum logo, but he's now leading together with Gladys, his art professor. They're leading a community of Cuban artists to sell their works via NFTs. And so I thought like that project was amazing. They were like empowering and enabling artists in Cuba, which is a country, as you know, it's like so blocked off from the world and with so little access to global markets, to be able to reach global collectors and monetize their work and share their work on a global like scale. So I thought that was beautiful, and I said, let's do let's involve this Cuban art community and have them make the art for this project. And then we decided to just make it broader and include artists from emerging countries globally. So Gladys, who like I mentioned, she's an art professor based in Havana, Cuba. She was the curator, and she organized artists in Cuba, but also in Argentina, in Venezuela, in Bolivia, in Chile, in Brazil. There's artists also from Europe, from Africa, from India. So it's like a very diverse global project with all these talented artists participating, and they all made versions of the Ethereum logo, and then those logos will kind of are algorithmically combined so that you have like the original artworks, but you also have like combined artworks, and that makes a collection of 10,499 NFTs. And that number, by the way, is a nod to the EAP 1559 blog. That's why that number. And like I said, like once the entire collection is sold, the like movie rewards will be revealed, and holders will know, oh, like, so does my NFT let me be an extra in the movie, and so on. The last piece that I'll mention is that most of the funds raised go to funding the movie, but 22% goes to funding the artist in perpetuity of all primary and secondary sales. And also 10% of sales until the movie budget is covered go to a community treasury, because the idea is that these NFT holders will also be members of a DAO. And the DAO is an executive producer of the film. So it's not just like this backstage pass, but it's a real kind of say in how the movie gets made.
So am I part of that DAO now?
Yeah, if you're an NFT holder, you're part of the DAO. Yeah, you should kind of join the Discord, and that's kind of where all the discussion happens. But yeah, I'm really kind of proud and excited about this project.
Amazing. And what I would love to do is to try and get more people to buy those NFTs and support it. So I'll definitely be mentioning it to everybody in our network, and you were on one of our calls the other day, so more people will listen to this. And I think it's an amazing way of I'm a filmmaker. I don't know if you know, but I'm originally,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
Wow.
so I've got a multi-award winning documentary called The Millennial Disruption, and it's about how millennials are changing. I made it in 2017, and then it was released in 2018, then went into film festivals and did really well. And it's only half an hour. Gary Vaynerchuk is in it, actually. I went to New York and interviewed him for the documentary, and it features people from The Economist, Bentley, Jaguar Land Rover, Steinway pianos. And of course, I work with Steinway pianos. Steinway is my biggest client for my other company that I work with. So they're, the most expensive pianos in the world. So, I come from that kind of, film background. That's originally, where I came from, and then started, a marketing agency. And then from there, I went on to build FemPeak. So as somebody who comes from the film industry, I feel, or at least the TV and film industry, I feel like there's so many opportunities to essentially disrupt the way that it has been monopolized for a very long time, and give new artists and people who are talented, but they don't maybe get the kind of backing and support. So I see it as a very beautiful way to raise money to to be able to create projects like this. Really supportive of it, and I think it's super important and interesting. And I think it will also set a precedence and set a model for other people to learn. Say, okay, these are some of the ways that I can build this, and you build that whole idea of the access to the backstage and the early release and all those things that makes people feel like they're a part of the project. And that's so powerful. I think it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think especially important for women. As you know, FemPeak is all about getting more women into technology, into finance. And especially, I feel like there's an opportunity to close the gender wealth gap, with the crypto industry, and it's something that I think women can really benefit from. There are so many female artists, that would struggle maybe to raise, especially in the film industry. I don't know if you're familiar with how hard it is for female-led
I didn't know that.
Directors. Yeah, so female-led directors and female-led producers, they have a very hard time raising money. If you think about the history of the Academy Awards, there's in 120 years or so, there's only ever been one female director that has won. Only one female director.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy.
And there is a lot of research that shows in general, in film and TV, women are only mentioned around 20%. They get only 20% of the dialogue, and most of the time it's a supportive role. So they don't really get like the main role most of the time. I think NFTs give us an opportunity potentially to change that culture.
Yeah, that's a great point. And why do you think women find it harder to raise funds in the film industry? And we also see it in any industry, right? In the startup world and in finance. Women take a very small share of venture capital. But why do you see it happen in the film industry? And also, I'd love to hear kind of your experience with that.
Yeah. So basically, I went through a very difficult breakup in 2019. So I was in a relationship for 5 years, and my partner at the time was extremely successful. But when it came to me gaining the similar kind of, starting to build a business and gain success, we found it very difficult, because it seemed that even though I had chosen not to have children, and I was like, okay, so he does have children and I'm able to go and focus on these areas, it was actually very difficult to make it work. So I found that the family and relationship is one of the most difficult reasons why women find it hard to succeed. to the highest levels. And then I started a think tank after my breakup. I was like, okay, I need to find out why women are being left behind, and at the same time I was writing a book about the future of work. The book is called Career Fear and How to Beat It, and it was about how technology is changing the future of work. And that was after I made my documentary as well, so I had a lot of momentum. So I started a think tank for women in business and technology in August 2020. And through the think tank, I put together some really big conferences, hundreds of people, really big names from big corporations, Microsoft, Google, we had people from, managing director of Marie Claire magazine, all sorts of places. And we put our heads together and we tried to understand why women were being left behind. And we interviewed hundreds of women. And it's entrepreneurship skills, and financial literacy, and family and relationship support, which I mentioned, and women's health issues. So women go have children, don't come back, struggle to they fall behind, and technology is moving really fast. So if you're out of that space, for a few months, or a year, you've missed out on so much, and it's quite hard to kind of catch up. And at the same time, if you think of, in terms of financial literacy, when I was growing up in Iran, many times you would see that, people were gathering, women were in the kitchen, preparing the food, and men were in the lounge, talking about politics and economy. So women were not part. Yeah, and it's the same even here, in many cases. So even now that I'm in the UK, I see that quite a lot sometimes. So it's like women's world remained quite small. Like they were talking about how much salt to put in the food, whereas men are talking about politics and technology and where the world is going. So because of all those reasons, women have been left behind. They have fallen behind, and it's going to take a long time. You can see, for example, of even the sessions that we are putting on FemPeak, it's quite hard to get women to start listening to and think about macroeconomy, for example, right? Macroeconomics. It's a lot harder to get them to think about these things. They do feel really overwhelmed because they've been left behind for a long time. It's kind of like helping them to change their mindset and start thinking about where the world is going, what's the historical context behind some of the reasons, some of the things that we have developed. And also there's the fact that the terminology, the terminology, that the lexicon that we use in a lot of these technologies and in finance has also kept women behind. You think of, in crypto, we say crypto wallet. Women don't use wallets, they use purses, so like all of these, and this was actually pointed out by one of our podcast guests, and I thought that like such an important observation, so we are, because it's kind of like a vicious cycle. The more you keep women outside of this system, the harder it is to then incorporate them. So even now, when I'm talking to companies about investing in, whether it's in diversity and inclusion, whether it's like however that they want to bring women in, most of the time they only allow a small part of their budget to bringing more women into this space. There's only like, they only always see women as a niche, whereas it's like women are more than half of the population. So it's an absolute, no-brainer that we need to invest in them, bring them more into this.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, it comes down to those 6 reasons why women are left behind. And it then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So women self-select out of these things. They keep themselves out. So as they keep themselves out, fewer companies invest in them, and then they continue to be left behind. And I'm really worried about that, because I feel like now we are going in a place where we are merging with technology, and all of that technology is being designed by men.
You see it in crypto as well. Maybe I think I'm hopeful that it's less so than in fintech, traditional finance, and in the traditional tech world. I'm seeing more diversity in crypto, but it's still very much male dominated. And it's a real shame, because I think that crypto, more than any other space probably, is an opportunity for women, because it is an open by design space where anyone can participate, where you can be an anonymous avatar online and start building a big, like the biggest DeFi protocol, and like nobody cares if you're man or woman in theory, right? So I think like the possibilities and like the opportunities are there, and literally every DeFi company is hiring right now. Like the space is growing so much. There's so much funding going into the space. You see these venture capital funds raising $1 billion funds to invest in crypto. So it's like finance and like the money and funds is flowing into space. Every company protocol DApp is growing. Everyone is hiring. There's this opportunity to build without asking permission, without having any sort of certificate or license or degree. You can just like go and build directly. So it's like so much opportunity. And I think it's so ripe for women to take advantage of this. And like you, like I would really want to encourage and empower more women to be a part of this space. It's like, it's our time. Like, why not? Like we should take charge, but I agree that there's so many challenges. It is like an education issue. It's a cultural issue. Like you said, it's an entire mindset that needs to change. It's like if you grow up feeling that you should take a back seat to like financial decisions because that's kind of the men's role in the house. And it's like, even if we're like very progressive and we live in this kind of new world where, you know, diversity is encouraged and women can and do everything, but it's still kind of hard to shake that sort of upbringing. Like I see it in myself as well. Like, and like, I have nothing negative to say about my parents. Like they were very encouraging me. They always told me I could do whatever I wanted and all that stuff. But you still see this kind of like family dynamics where it's like, okay, the men talk about business and the women talk about like whatever, social life, like the family. Yeah, they go to the kitchen and prepare food. They serve the men. And I mean, that's kind of like the way it is. So it's very hard to change. And I think beyond like the cultural and like educational side of things, I think like a very structural issue is, like you said, the family and kind of baby making side of things. Because okay, so like there's on one hand, like, yes, like women like biologically have to carry literally the weight of having a baby. And at the start of the baby's life, like they depend on the mother. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy out of women to raise children. And I think there's like a policy aspect here too, because in most countries and in most workplaces, women are expected to take all of the weight, like all of the responsibility. So women have pre and post birth leaves of like months, but men don't. Men maybe get 2 weeks. In the US, like it's not even by law that anyone gets anything. It's like depends on the company. So if by law you're putting all of the responsibility on women, it's like, okay, like women, like you take 2 months off, but your husband only gets 2 weeks. So it's like, obviously, like you're forcing women to be out of the workplace for longer while men can advance. So I think that's a key issue, like a key policy issue. I think both men and women should be expected to take an equal share of childbearing, because why not? I mean, they're both parents, and you're putting women at such an unfair disadvantage.
That's right. But at the same time, there are many women who
prefer to have that, like it is
Sure.
also, a decision that a lot of people would make, because, at the end of the day, you also have to physically recover, it's very difficult, to go through that. And that's definitely, you're right, and that there's a policy aspect here that can be looked at. But as somebody who is naturally a defiant, as somebody who is naturally an anarchist, I never have so much hope for government solve problems.
I'm always neither do I.
We need to do our own, we need to figure things out by ourselves, right? And one of the things is, I chose not to have children. I don't know if you have children. Do you?
Not yet, but I would want to at some point.
Okay. I decided not to have children, because I just think that it's impossible. I can't do it. It's too much. I can't have that kind of time off and, build everything I want to build. So that was a conscious decision I made. I think it's very, very hard, but if you know that is something that you want, then you kind of build your lifestyle around it, and so that you can still be very successful and have an impact. But the amount of times that I have asked somebody, do you have a crypto wallet, and they're like, I don't have one, but my boyfriend has one, or my husband has one. Yeah, but that's not you, right? It's not the same as you having one, right? And you just need to sort of get comfortable with it. Okay, so this is all very interesting. So one thing that I have noticed, though, is that if there was one key to getting more women into this space, is NFTs. I'm finding that they are very interested in NFTs. There are many women who are even telling me that they're interested in NFTs, but they're not interested in crypto, and they're only having to learn about crypto because of NFTs. And I think that as NFTs become more and more of a cultural phenomenon, they more women are going to want to have a piece of that and understand that. And I think there is definitely an opportunity to do something around that and bring more women into it. Do you see a world? I know this is almost I know the answer is no, but I wonder, do you see a world where it could be possible to make NFTs? I don't want to say make NFTs without crypto, because NFTs are a form of crypto, but is there a way to make NFTs so accessible that that women, just feel comfortable? If women were going to create that technology, would they have made it in a much more accessible, easier way to I wonder if the fact that it was designed, the whole thing is designed by men, by design, it's not very female friendly.
I'm not sure if it's about being female friendly specifically. I just don't think it's very friendly in general. I think most people find crypto intimidating and hard to use. Even OpenSea is hard. You tried to buy the Infinite Machine NFT on your show the other day, and you had trouble because you had wrapped ETH, and the collection only takes ETH, and you had to unwrap and all that stuff. It's not
crazy.
very.
And I don't see now. I don't see my wrapped ETH in my MetaMask. I only see it when I'm in OpenSea. So if I wanted to use that wrapped ETH to buy something with it on, let's say, Looks Rare, I can't do it. It only shows on my, and I can't see I try to unwrap it, and the tutorials say that you just click on 3 dots and you will see unwrap, and I click on 3 dots and I don't see unwrap.
You probably have to import the wrapped ETH to your MetaMask so it shows and whatever, but it's all these steps.
That's so complicated, right?
So I don't think it's only unfriendly to women. I think it's unfriendly to everyone. And I think, I'm not sure if this had been designed by women from the start, if it would be friendlier. I don't know. There's no way to say. And for those listening, it's people kind of have, especially in crypto, have this kind of combative attitude to these statements, because they're like, like the space is open and everyone can, yeah, that's true. But the fact is that crypto was built by men. Like I'd say 80% maybe of crypto was built by men. And that's probably like generous, like I see it, like I talk to all the founders. I go to all the hackathons. It's 90% men, and that's a fact. And it's a very sad fact, but that's how it is. So crypto was designed mostly by men. And I think it's very hard to say whether if women were involved, it would be friendlier. I think maybe, but I think in the end, the reason why it's not friendly yet is because we're very early, and crypto is being built kind of from the very infrastructure layer up. So I think, like the infrastructure layer is like this layer that's kind of at the bare bones of the blockchain, and that's kind of something that only very technical people can access. And so at the early days of Ethereum, there were no like consumer facing applications, and everyone was interacting with smart contracts directly, and wallets and decentralized exchanges were impossible for a layperson to use. And then things progressed, and from that like infrastructure layer, now we have this protocol layer. So now like all these applications are being built on Ethereum and other smart contract platforms, and some in Bitcoin. But we haven't mastered kind of the application layer yet. So it's like we're at the protocol layer, and there are some like consumer facing applications being built, but all the consumer like user experience and interfaces and like all those frictions haven't been resolved yet, because we are just like at that point. And it's like we're not so far out into the evolution of crypto to have figured those things out. I'm like encouraged to see that there are solutions out there. Like there are things called meta transactions, which means that the user doesn't pay for gas, but the application pays for gas. So for example, like think of like OpenSea paying for your gas to buy NFTs. And so you don't have to have ETH in your wallet, or like to use Uniswap, like Uniswap would pay for your fee and so on. So that would be like a huge change. Something that would allow you to just use your like debit card or your credit card directly, and that would convert to crypto. And we are seeing kind of on-ramps like that with Dharma and other wallets to use like Apple Pay to buy crypto directly. So it's like, okay, like I see kind of there's light at the end of the tunnel, like these solutions are here. But they haven't been implemented very well, or they're not very widespread yet, or there's like technological issues with scaling that they make them very expensive. But at the same time, there's like a lot of people working on scaling technologies in parallel. So it's like all these, technologies and improvements are being worked on in parallel. And I think that with time, like they will all converge to make crypto more usable. And of course, like that will also include NFTs. So I think, everyone here listening and using DeFi and buying NFTs are super early. But I think we'll get kind of a new wave of users as all of this becomes easier to use, hopefully.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. I think that's a good place to bring the conversation to an end, because hopefully we will end on a high, and people will start to get more excited about everything, because I think it's a super exciting space and it's the future. It's absolutely the future, right?
Yeah, I agree.
This was such a refreshing conversation. I love seeing so many amazing women in this space and do what I can to support them. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or any other one of your favorite podcast channels. And don't forget to give it a 5-star rating and write a review. Finally, if you're not yet a member of FemPeak, head over to fempeak.ai, register, and join to stay in the know and ahead of the curve.